Just Stats, Reggie Johnson, Eugene Morgan coming to you, Level City of Atlanta, Georgia. Eugene, there were fireworks during the draft here. We're going to talk about Michael Penix Jr. because the people in Atlanta were, let's just say, surprised. Let's keep it there. People were shocked here in the city. I had a lot of WTF when this pick was made. My phone started blowing up. People were mad. I had to talk some people off the ledge. They were like, okay, that's it. I'm done. You know, they're hanging up their Falcons jerseys, not going no more games. They were protesting. And I didn't feel like it was that bad. Yeah, it was people that were pretty upset. I didn't think the pick was that bad. Me personally, I didn't think the pick was that bad. So but some of the points that were made that were given to me were pretty good points. So we're gonna make the points for and we're gonna make the points against here.
Okay.
So let's first of all start with the for Michael Penix. And let's go over to his stats here so we can kind of look into that real quick, because I think the for is pretty obvious. Let's go ahead and look at our stats here. 4,900 yards, 36 touchdowns, 65.4 on a completion. Now, what's interesting about this is he's one of the best pure throwers of the ball in the draft that people are saying. Mm-hmm. That's something that you were saying in the draft. People are like, oh, he's one of the best pure throwers in the draft. And that's true.
Mm-hmm.
That's true. He's one of the best pure throwers in the draft. But the thing is did we need him now? I think that's what a lot of people are saying. A lot of people are like, right. Did you need the guy now? Did you need him now at this second? Best pure thrower, one of the best pure throwers in the draft. Drafting 8th. Okay, so let's talk about this for a second. Drafting 8th overall. I think a lot of people, and definitely I think people in the front office, you got to have what's a player, at least a position that you feel is worth the 8th pick. Mm-hmm. And I can see why the general manager now, and this is me kind of playing devil's advocate here, because I can't act like I'm the smartest guy in the world and I would have made this pick. This is a pick that I had kind of talked about being made, but I didn't think they were going to make it. I kind of like the Dunzier because I thought that we could shore up our wide receiver room a little bit and get some help here immediately. Obviously, that's not the direction they wanted to go. But I thought that that's something that we could do. So it's no knock on Michael Penix in that sense. I just thought that's what we were going to do. But from a player standpoint, I believe he's a good player. I think that some people had him ranked just as high as those top 3 guys. I kind of going in the range of those top 3 guys.
Mm-hmm.
Had him like the 3rd or 4th best, and some people had him as high on their board as the 2nd best. I think that's where the Falcons had him. I think the Falcons had him like, I think they had Jaden Daniels, then Michael Penix, then Caleb Williams, which is wild, right?
Yeah.
But that's kind of another of the 4s. Another thing too is if he sits for 2 years, he comes in a game, because people are limiting his age, which we'll probably talk about in the against as well, for just to kind of be fair to the people who don't like this pick.
Right.
If you're talking about his age, it's a fair point. I just don't think that 26 is over the hill if he starts at 26. Like he's 24 now. If he sits for 2 to 3 years, he starts 26, 27, and he lasts us 5 to 7 years, and he goes into, even if you add those years, he'll be at 34. The guy we have now is 36. Or going to be 36.
Gotta be 36.
So he, even if you add those years, you could take Michael Penix, start him in 2 years, and you would just have to add 10 years to get to where Kirk Cousins will be when he is our quarterback. So I don't know about the age. I feel like somehow 26 will be over the hill and we just can't use them then. Like, I don't understand that. I don't think he should sit for 4 years. I think it'd be a disaster. No. I think he could sit for 2 to 3 though. And if he sits on a 2 to 3 year timeline, then I get why you'd make this pick. And another reason I would say for 4 for Michael Penix would be, look at some of the other teams out here. Look around. Look at other teams that have no quarterbacks. Look at other teams that have 0 backup plan. I was talking to a Giants fan today, and he was talking about his Daniel Jones and Drew Lock combination they have going on there.
Right.
Which quarterback room would you rather have? The Kirk Cousins, Michael Penix room, or the Daniel Jones, Drew Lock room? Like, I understand that people are questioning why the pick was made this early, but if you expect to have successful drafts from this point forward, or if this draft is successful and you expect to have success as a team, your successive drafts will be drafting later positions. You're not going to be in a position to draft which you may see as a franchise quarterback, which I feel like they saw this guy as a franchise quarterback. So that's one of the fours here. Do you have any fours before I move to the against?
I mean, I just want to look up. I looked up Aaron Rodgers' age when he started. So I mean, they would only be an age apart, 1 year apart from each other. So Aaron started when he was 25. So if you gave the keys to Penix at 26, again, I don't think even if he started at 27, I think his birthday and his start is a weird. I think he's going to turn 24 soon. If I looked at his birthday, so again, I think he'll be 27ish for probably when he starts. If I've seen that right, but I'm right there with you. I understand, but I mean, there wasn't a lot at 8 other than like you said.
I mean, people wanted the Dallas Turner, people wanted the edge rusher.
But if you're taking an edge rusher at 8, like you better make sure this guy is going to like be a franchise like edge rusher. Like you saw where he went. You saw where the top defensive
going like 17th.
Right. And then the top defensive guy was not even, he was like he wasn't even medically cleared to play football for like he was almost retired due to medical condition. So it's like the people that complained about it were like, I don't think they realized we still have another quarterback. It's like, and
I think that's what they were complaining about, and I'll kind of get to that in the against because I want to make sure I give both arguments, both perspectives, because I heard some very good perspective of people who were really ready to bail on the Falcons altogether. I had some friends who were just ready to bail, man. They were done. They were ready to go, man.
I mean, go from
this is it. They just did it to me again.
Yeah, I mean, to go from Mariota to Ritter to Heineke the last couple of years, and a wash Matt Ryan. Now we're going to Kirk Cousins, Penix, and Heineke. I mean,
I like that QB room better, right? It's a much better.
It's a much. And look at how many quarterbacks don't finish a season or get injured. You can't. Are you telling me that right now, if the Jets could have it, would not like a Penix Jr. just sitting in their waiting room rather than Zach Wilson,
right?
So I mean, that's the one thing. It's like I get that people are against it. I get it's a risk, but I mean, how many times do we complain about our teams not taking a risk? And then here we go, and they actually take one, and it's like everyone just loses their mind.
Yeah, man. I think I'm trying to make sure that I'm done with the fours. I don't want to think about, oh man, I should have said that later as I do a lot of these shows. And I come back on in the middle of the night. And I'm thinking, man, that would have been a great point that I could have made. And now it's the moment's just totally gone. But I think the fours are pretty solid. In my opinion, if we were picking at 28th, not only would Michael Penix Jr. might not have been at 28 if we were picking at 28, but I think this becomes an easier decision because it's easier to find players that are worth that particular draft position than the top 10. You're under this microscope of you need to have a player worthy of that top 10 pick that you're making. You know what I mean?
Right.
And edge rusher, I remember telling you this at night. Like I remember telling you that was a possibility and thinking like we're probably going to go with an edge rusher. And we were telling you, I was saying
and it's like just so boring.
It's not that exciting. It's just not gonna be exciting. You were like the night's young. You were like the night's not over. Now, when you said that, I didn't think that we were gonna pick a quarterback, but I was just saying, you were just like, hey, the night's not over, and I'm just like, oh yeah. But every mock had us taking an edge rusher, which is definitely a need. So I get people who are saying they want to draft a need. So let's move to the against. Sure. Now, the against is, and I'm gonna just bring up some of the better arguments that I've heard as well.
Mm-hmm.
So I can be kind of fair to those. If we paid Kirk Cousins, why are we drafting Michael Penix? Right?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
It seems like drafting one is kind of like in contrast to the other to a certain degree. Like if you're going to go after a rookie quarterback, you save your money, right? That's kind of traditionally what you do in the NFL, right? That's why you're going after a rookie quarterback, to save your money. These days, if you look at the Russell Wilson situation, these NFL teams don't mind spending money on a quarterback, especially if they got a rookie quarterback on the rookie wage scale. The rookie wage scale is what made this possible.
Yeah.
So I could see where people have that issue. Why pay Cousins For people though who don't know the details, Cousins' contract is pretty much a 2-year contract.
Right.
It says 4 and it's 180 million, but the NFL, we all know what that means. It's whatever the guaranteed money is, and the 100 million is still guaranteed, life-changing guaranteed money. Let's not get it twisted. That's $100 million, still expensive quarterback, but at the same time, it's 45, 45, 10. They'll eat the 10. They'll eat the 10, and it'll be 45, 45. You would have still got $90 million of that contract in 2 years. I don't think that's a bad deal for Kirk too, because if Kirk wants to then turn around and at 38 try to run back another contract for another 2 or 3 years with somebody else, maybe he'll have an opportunity to get another bite at the apple, like real money, because we know that the 80 million on the back of that contract is just funny money, and it's not really there unless we still have Kirk Cousins, which will be a crazy problem to have, because if we have Kirk Cousins in 4 years, that means he's done enough to deserve being here still, right?
Correct.
So I do get against that. Another thing that I heard, another good point that I heard against was lining up Michael Penix's contracts with the other rookie contracts that are kind of there. So if you don't play Michael Penix for 2 years, you're going to start paying some of these guys that we have on our team. Right now, we're still good for the next year or two before we really got to start paying some of these guys, like your Kyle Pitts, your Drake Londons, and Bijan will be coming up closer to that time anyway. I think Bijan will still have some time. And I think we might have time on all these guys if we use like the franchise. These guys are all first rounders. So we can use the option on these guys, get that 5th year if we need to.
Yeah. We just picked up Kyle Pitts' 5th year, by the way. So
did we already, huh?
Yep.
When is that up? That's got to be up from some time from now.
Yeah, I think it's another year left on that one. So yeah, I think we just went ahead and just took it over.
So if you are so not lining up with the rookie contracts is something that's a legitimate gripe. When you say, when people say, hey, his contract, by the time Michael Penix does start, we got to start paying the guys. The good news for that is we'll still have Penix under that first contract. If he sits for 2 years, we'll still have him for another 2 and a 5th year option. And then we can go to franchising, but we probably won't go down that road, but we'll still have him under contract for some more years.
Right.
After that, it's not like his whole rookie contract to be up. Another thing, a legitimate gripe that I heard is when you draft a player at 8, not playing him for a couple of years is ridiculous. Now, and I definitely agree with that to a certain degree, because when you look at where it happened for Aaron Rodgers and where it happened for Jordan Love, I think both of those guys were drafted in the 20s, if I'm not mistaken. They weren't drafted in the top 10. So top 10 means you play, right? Like I don't think the fan base is unfair by saying, hey, we expected that if we drafted in the top 10 that we'd actually be playing the guy we drafted.
Right.
And I don't think that's crazy.
No, not at all. Not at all. That's a great point.
So I get it. I get it. If you are against this, I'm definitely on the more of the 4 side. You know how I felt about taking another quarterback. I told you that I was not opposed to it. I've been talking about it all off season. Not opposed to taking another quarterback, but did I think it was going to happen? No. Very shocked.
No.
Very shocked.
Very shocked.
What do you have on the against there?
Well, I'm surprised. I'm going to steal your thunder. The obviously the injury history. I think it's going to worries us.
Yes.
And maybe
you know how I feel about that.
We already know about that. I mean, if you want to nitpick, you can definitely go. I mean, McCarthy had was a better grade. But why didn't we take McCarthy? But McCarthy,
I would have been shocked if McCarthy had gone before Penix, but a lot of people had them closer than I thought. But I was like, I didn't have them closer. Maybe only injury is the only reason I would have had them closer.
That's the only reason
for Penix.
Yeah, and then I kept seeing like Alex Smith comps for JJ McCarthy. So that was one reason I didn't want to draft a guy. I don't want JJ. I don't want an Alex Smith running our team for the next 20 years and just have a mediocre playoff performances. So the health. You're not starting him right away. I think the blind side of Kirk Cousins, you're paying him all this money, and you know how Atlanta fans get. The moment he starts struggling, I'm stealing this bit from somebody else, and they're right.
That's a problem.
That's a problem. They're going to start screaming for him to get started.
Yes, absolutely. They're going to want Michael Penix out there immediately as soon as. And this is a problem that you don't want in any franchise. And this is why some of your better quarterbacks, this is why Cam Newton had trouble getting a job. This is back in the day when Tim Tebow couldn't get a job. This is why he had trouble getting a job. You don't want a popular guy, no matter what his playing ability is. You don't want a popular guy at the backup quarterback position because they're
Right.
going to be every time there's an incomplete pass.
Yeah.
By Cousins.
Yep.
Let's get Penix in here. They're going to want to see the kid, and that's going to be a problem. And I also, to piggyback off that, not telling Kirk Cousins until the day of.
Yeah, that's kind
a
of
little
wrong.
sus, but I get it. I get it because you don't want another team to draft your guy, so you don't tell nobody.
Yeah.
In from a GM standpoint, you don't tell anyone because you don't want the word to get out that you're even looking at them.
Right.
You don't want the word to get out. You want to get there. That's why I figured they didn't tell Kirk until they were literally making the pick because it can't be snatched from under them now. They can tell you how. With that being said, though, where I think is, and you're paying Kirk a lot of money. So I hear a lot of people saying this too. He's getting $100 million. He should be satisfied. No, the reason why I don't agree with that line of thinking is because Kirk was being shopped. He would have got the money anywhere that he went. Kirk had his choice to go to a few different teams. And I didn't get the feeling that this was a Deshaun Watson type situation where Atlanta just came in with such a crazy deal off the top ropes that Kirk has to take it. I felt other teams would have paid Kirk 40 to 50.
Absolutely.
40 in the 40 range for sure, right?
Yeah.
So with that being said, Kirk would have had choices. If you had told him this, let's say you tell him this in the courting process, when you're being courted and you're going to different places and you're having your agent call different places and there's different places that you can go, right? You got to let them know in the courting process, hey, we could draft another quarterback, which I think they did. The only issue was it's this year.
Yeah. I mean, it's this season. It's this season. We just gave you that money because now, like you said, now it feels like he has an expiration date of 2 years.
Yeah,
that's to me. Like that's what it feels like.
All the way his team, right? He's like a placeholder for the kid. The kid is ready. But I will tell you, Kirk can make a lot of people forget this by going out there and just performing.
Yeah.
If Kirk goes out there and performs, a lot of people will forget it. Won't be rooting for the kid to come in. Some people said that we could use him as trade bait. No way in the world would I do that. The only way I would trade Michael Penix is if I can get 2 first for him. Yeah. And then I would have to try to get the 2 first very early picks. It has to be from like a bad team where you can get a very early pick, right? Like I don't want 30. I don't want 31 and 25.
No,
you know what I mean? Like it would have to be If I feel like I got a guy back here, and I really just want to keep him, to be honest with you. The quarterback position is so important.
Exactly.
That I think that what you're going to see people do is adopt the Green Bay model of one that's kind of in the oven, one that's already ready here, and one that's in the oven baking. So that when this one leaves, we got the other one ready to pull right out the oven. He's already ready to go.
Yeah.
And I think that you're going to see a lot more teams adopt that model because what you're seeing in the NFL happen all too often is your first guy goes down and you have nobody. Your season is over. Your season is over. There isn't a lot of like Nick Foles, a guy who was an excellent rookie career, went and had a starting job, happened to be your backup quarterback, comes in, wins the Super Bowl for you. Like there aren't a lot of stories out there like that. How it typically goes is the second guy comes in and your season collapses.
Yep. Yep. I mean, look at way back when Steve Young took over Joe Montana. Russell Wilson, he replaced the starter.
It was Matt Flynn and Matt.
Matt Flynn. They gave Matt Flynn money. They just gave
Matt Flynn money.
Exactly.
But somebody made a good point though. The money they gave Matt Flynn like $10-12 million. It wasn't
true, but it was big money back then.
$10-12 million. But they had just paid the guy, and then Russ comes from NC, and I think they drafted Russ so much later. He comes from NC and was able to do his thing there. But I do think people are going to look at that Green Bay model, see what's going on. Jordan Love kind of helped to make these picks kind of happen. Jordan Love came in and stunk up the place. Maybe people don't look at that model the same, but he did. He came in, he did his thing.
In Philadelphia too. Philly did the same exact thing. They had Carson Wentz. They gave him money, but hey, they still drafted. Now again, it was second round, but they went and got Jalen Hurts. And again, like you said, you keep drafting the quarterback until you get it right. Because no offense, I love Kurt, but here's another against him. He hasn't win. He's not a winner. He wins games.
He doesn't win in the postseason.
He doesn't
win in the postseason. And he's a great quarterback. And yes. I don't mind the Kirk Cousins. And now to be honest with you, I like the Kirk Cousins situation more now because we have Penix. then I would have liked it if we had just put all our hopes on a guy's 36 coming off an Achilles.
Yeah.
It's a tough ask to say now, take us to the promised land, Kirk. But maybe he would have been able to do so. I don't know.
Right. And look at your team, the Steelers. Look at them. They did the same exact thing. They've got two
Yes,
quarterbacks.
you got
in
two
the
guys.
room. You got two
Two
guys.
guys who can play the position at a
Right.
decent level. You're not going to have that drop off at the second level be a guy who's never touched the field in his life,
Right.
or who's never not even highly touted. Because it's different when you have a rookie and you bring a rookie in and he's never touched the field. You never know what's going to happen. It's a whole nother situation when you just have a backup quarterback and the fans are praying he just never touches the field because they've seen him in preseason or they've seen him in other moments and they're like, man, we just pray we don't have to run this guy out there.
Exactly. Please don't have to. Okay, you went from Trubisky to Pickett to
disaster, bro,
and
Rudolph.
Rudolph.
That Pickett Rudolph
and
Trubisky room was depressing for me with the Steelers. Now, reverse our situation with the Steelers. Put Michael Penix and put Kirk Cousins on the Steelers. That would have been a lot better team, in my opinion. With that room, it would have changed their fortunes.
Right.
So I do think that when you look at how much these teams can change fortunes, I think Terry Fontenot is going to look better in the future. But the problem is, it's going to be in the future, and who knows if he even makes it there. But I mean, not in life, but just on the team. I don't know.
Yeah,
this is your job on the line pick right here, brother. If I've ever seen one.
Yeah, well, I mean, he. Well, the thing is, we needed a quarterback. This roster is a playoff. We already know that. We know this is a playoff team. I mean, I'm not saying they're going to win the playoffs, but this is definitely a playoff roster. The defense is good, and yes, we could have upgraded in receivers, but we've got some good B and C receivers, like high B's, high C receivers. You know, and yes, we don't have that Malik Neighbors that you and I have. Now, if Malik Neighbors sitting there at 8, we didn't take him. I think this would be a totally different show. You know,
but a disaster. I'd be upset. But the thing is, I think Penix is worth the 8th, and I think Neighbors would have been worth the 8th. It would have been a player. Dunzi, I probably would have took. It would have been a player that I would have felt like would have been worth that 8th pick right there. You can tell from where Dunzi went that people would have felt that he's a top 10 pick because you actually saw it happen. When you look at the player that we were going to take, he didn't go to 17th. Yeah. So clearly people didn't have that. People didn't see him drop and they're like, oh my God, let's just scratch our board and get this guy. They didn't jump up to make it happen. So I'm not saying he can't be good.
No,
but
he's going to be good.
It has to do with the position.
Right. But we already have a good defense. Like we don't need another good defensive player. If there's like a great defense player, then absolutely go for it. But
a lot of people are lamenting our defense, man. They're saying that Calais Campbell might be gone. I'm hearing Grady Jarrett. We don't know if he's actually coming back. I think he's coming off an injury. So I don't know, man. I do think that we could have made our defense better, but here's the problem with any of this in the NFL. If you don't have a quarterback, nothing else matters for you.
Right. Exactly.
It just doesn't matter. So I feel like they took care of the most important position, right? Because your team's just not going to be good. It doesn't matter who you have. It's incredible how this one guy can just impact so much, but it's an impactful position, and if you don't have it, it's going to suck for you. Let's talk about the draft here. Let's get our draft on the screen. We'll do some draft. We got some draft grades here from NFL.com. We'll kind of run down them. We'll do a rapid fire so this show is not like an hour and a half long.
So like our last NFL show?
Yeah. Right. That thing was like an epic. I don't want an epic situation. So we're just going to rapidly go through these. I'll rapidly scroll through them here for the audience, for the podcast audience. I kind of explain. So NFL.com, let's see who's giving these grades on NFL.com. A guy named Chad Reuter, draft analyst. Okay, Chad. Let's see if we agree with these grades here. Arizona Cardinals, A-. I'll talk about the big guys. I'm not going to go down their entire draft. If you're looking here on the screen, you have to be watching. You can see it on the screen there, who the picks are. But for me here, I like what the Cardinals did. I like what the Cardinals did. I can't disagree with this. This is not something I can disagree with, only because I think that they did what they had to do. Taking Marvin Harrison Jr., right, had to happen.
Yeah.
Had to happen, my
friend. You had to get a receiver. That was the one thing they're missing. They're missing a blue chip receiver. And they've got it. And they got Trey Benson, the running back from Florida State. I like that pick as well. And they took all those picks they got from Houston and like, let's rebuild our roster. And that's like, look at that. I mean, defense, offensive line. They're going like they're going to hit. Like some of these guys are going to hit. I mean, we already know Marvin Harrison. I think Trey Benson is going to be really good. But yeah, that's a good draft. You can't complain about what they did.
Yeah, they have took a D tackle, defensive back, but the headliner. We'll kind of talk about the headliners there, and then just kind of leave it on screen a little bit for the people here. But Arizona Cardinals A-. I have no problem with that grade.
Yep,
for the Arizona Cardinals.
I like it.
Atlanta Falcons C+. Now you know what's crazy about
I saw a C- before. So
let me tell you, this is right. Because this is
I'll take a C+.
They were killing us, right? If you're looking at a draft and like the draft we've had this year, we've been getting killed for that Penix pick,
right?
And then some people love it. Like it's interesting because some people love it's very much a polarizing pick. Some people love the Penix pick, some people hate it.
Yeah, it's
middle ground. I'm so much glad we took it, but
yeah,
wouldn't have minded if we didn't take it. But I think the pick's more exciting. I'm more excited about the team's long-term future than I have ever been right now at the second. So I liked it. I like the pick. Can't say I love it, but I like it. C+ for the Falcons. Do I stick with that? Okay, maybe. Okay, C+. All right.
I'll take it because I mean, look at and then we took defense pretty much the rest of the way, like except the last couple of picks and our last. So I mean, like you said, we may be losing some defensive guys, but we got some. We could probably there's probably got some good rotational guys in that defense that we can, which we need. You don't. That's what, like you said, with you like to have a lot of quarterbacks. You got to have a lot of defensive players too, because those guys get injured all the time.
Right. We got a linebacker, took a couple defensive ends. A couple of linebackers, took another running back, wide receiver towards the end rounds there, defensive end. So, I would like to go in the B's, but because I get where the fans would be upset, I get their upsetness.
Yep.
Then I'm gonna stick in the C's because I feel like they bring up some legitimate points there. So I'm gonna stick in the C's with that C+. Baltimore Ravens, Rich always getting richer, man. This is a team that just does typically well in the draft. Some people are saying they got the best cornerback in Nate Wiggins from Clemson, defensive back.
I do like Nate Wiggins. Can't complain about that. And it's just them they always pick a freaking cornerback. I swear that's all they pick. It feels like that way anyway.
And the Ravens are a great, excellent organization, man. They just don't make it. I have to wait. Like I couldn't even critique them. I would check myself before I would check the Ravens organization on some of these guys. I don't really know them, and then I'm got to see how they play. But given their track record and their history, the Ravens seem to draft pretty well. So there's nothing bad I can really say about that. Scroll down to the Buffalo Bills here. The Buffalo Bills. What do we think about the Bills, man? Now, strange because a lot of people were thinking they would take Xavier Worthy, and you had a lot of people saying, why do they give Worthy to the Kansas City Chiefs? Keon Coleman can be a pretty good back.
Coleman, pretty good, not a bad.
I think the B+ they kind of saved in, because a lot of people were scratching their heads after the first day, so I think they saved their draft from a grade standpoint, at least in this with this B+ here in the later days. But I think they did. I mean, they kind of did what they had to do. But the problem is with teams like the Bills is we need to see how you're going to replace Diggs and Gabe Davis on that team. Like, we just got to see it happen, right? I got to see it. I understand you can draft the guys. I don't think they really addressed it in free agency. So I need to see how this is going to look. I would go B+ there. I would go B-. B- for me for the Bills. Where would you go?
Same there. I'm surprised since they lost all the cornerbacks. Maybe, I mean, I don't remember where all the cornerbacks were falling, but there were some really good cornerbacks in that second round. So I'm kind of surprised.
I mean, they got one at 60.
They did, but it's like still. That's it. Oh, it is defensive back. I'm sorry. You're right. They did. So yeah, I could see that. But you're right. Letting the other receiver go to Kansas City, I thought wasn't. I mean, Coleman's a good running back, but man, I don't know if you let the rich get richer like you like.
Yeah, because I think what the issues that Keon Coleman had was that people are, I guess, saying he's not as fast because Worthy's one of those speed guys, track guys.
Yes,
guy.
Right.
So people were feeling like Keon Coleman's not as good. But what I watched from Keon Coleman in my very limited time watching Florida State, I thought he was a good wide receiver. So
Good route runner. Then that's
yeah,
if you want to knock Diggs. Diggs was he's not a great route runner. I don't think Gabe Davis was either. So at least they got that. But again, who else is he throwing to? You lost both your receivers.
yeah, we got to see if all you got to do is worry about doubling up Keon Coleman, then Bills are gonna be in trouble there. So B minus for me for the Bills. B for the Panthers. I can't even pretend I know who Xavier Leggett is from South Carolina. I did not watch a lot of South Carolina football this year, but they seem to like the draft. I mean, I'm gonna abstain from this. I'll ride with the B grade, but I don't know enough about these guys to say that I feel like they may. And they're in the same situation as the Bills, and you'll see me repeat this for a few teams as we kind of talk through this. And that is a situation where I don't know how much better you are. I just don't know. I just don't know how much better you are right now, because your team, when you look, and I'm going to key in on this one position over and over again because it's become so important, and that's the wide receiver position.
Yeah.
If you don't have a couple guys, look at what the Bears are doing. Bears A++. Look at that. They got to look at that receiver room, and we'll talk about them as we get down there. Look at that receiver room.
Goodness.
But then when you compare that receiver room to some of these other receiver rooms, who's in this Panthers receiver room? It's going to be Xavier Leggett. It's going to be Jonathan Mingo, right? We're going to have is Adam Thielen still in there?
Adam Thielen, but but he's not like Adam Thielen from the Minnesota days. So we already know that. I do like the Jonathan Brooks.
He was respectable last year.
Yeah.
Like Brooks. Yeah, Brooks.
Brooks is a good running back.
Texas running back. Yeah, for sure. And they definitely need a running back there. But I don't really feel like that was their glaring issue, though. I feel like they had serviceable running backs. I feel like their glaring issue is who are you going to throw the ball to, and Bryce running for his life.
Yeah, I don't see.
I don't see an offensive lineman on here, right? Yeah. There's no lineman taken here.
Because you can have a quarterback all you want, but you got to have guys to protect them. It's not like you said. I think someone got picked at 8. It was the Chargers that took somebody 8th pick or whatever. And you're like, offensive line is like, it's not sexy, but if they need an offensive line,
right? Yeah, you got to take it. You got to take it. You know what I mean? All right, so let's scroll down to Chicago Bears, who we were just talking about, the aforementioned. Now, I love what the Bears have done this offseason. Forget what's happening just in the draft. This offseason, I've loved for them because they now have Keenan Allen?
Yes.
DJ Moore?
Yes.
And Rome Odunze?
Rome Odunze. That's your
Cole Kmet is serviceable. He's a serviceable tight end, man.
Yes.
You have targets. The kid's got targets there, man. This is almost like you cannot help but succeed. Yes, and they drafted it. They actually spent some draft capital on that line, right?
Right. Mm-hmm. And they also signed some too. So I mean, that's like I said, it's an A. I don't know where the A- came from because obviously because they traded some,
I think I would just go A because they didn't have a lot of picks, but I feel like they've done so much this offseason that I would go a little bit higher than this. I would go to A because I feel like they're doing something that a lot of teams don't do, and that's give their young assets some weapons and some protection. And they're at least attempting to do so.
Yeah.
So A for me, I'll go a little bit higher.
Yeah, I'm right there with you.
Teetering on A+, man. I really just love what they're doing. Their offseason will be an A+ draft. You want to give it an A? Okay, fine.
Right.
I'll go down a little bit for the draft.
Yeah, combine the free agency with the draft picks. Yeah, it's a no-brainer. It's an A+ for me.
Just transform their whole situation, right?
It really did. That's that franchise and that city really needs it.
Cincinnati Bengals. Now, this is going to be something similar to what I was saying before. If they bring back Higgins and Chase, no problems, right? Mm-hmm. And comes back, Burrow comes back. We don't really have any issues here. They did need to address. Maybe that running back position could have been addressed, but maybe they didn't feel like there was a running back that was worth the 18th overall pick. They didn't take a running back there. But I do think they're going to have to replace Joe Mixon at some point. I do think that's going to be a loss. They went offensive tackle, which is a tackle draft, man. Tackle heavy draft. There's a lot of tackles in there, man.
And gotta keep Burrow protected.
Correct. So
this money.
Is kind of mad for me. B-, C+-ish. Okay. It's kind of like, and I will go C, B-, C+, only because I don't know how much better they are than what they were last year. It seems to me last year your team depended on Joe Burrow's health, and it seems to me this year your team is going to depend on Joe Burrow's
Yes,
health.
right. He's your quarterback,
It
and if you
doesn't
don't,
seem like it's really much changing
right,
there. You
right,
know what I
right.
mean?
He's
Like
your guy. You got to keep him up, right?
if
Yep.
he's not healthy, nothing's going to help you. And if he is healthy and you still bring back the same guys, I don't have any issues.
Yep.
That means you got Higgins and Chase coming back, and
Yeah,
maybe
well,
they
Higgins
can
already.
replace Tyler Boyd or something like that.
Yeah, Higgins already came to say he's coming back. He's going to play on the franchise tag.
Okay,
So they're
so
fine.
then they're in good
They're
shape.
fine.
Bengals are in good shape. All right, let's see. Cleveland Browns, C+ for them. Didn't like the Cleveland Browns draft, huh? Took a D tackle. Oh, they didn't have a first round pick.
Yeah, since last year, the Russell Wilson draft capital loss. This is the last year. I'm sorry, Deshaun Watson.
So looking here, I think the same thing. C+ is probably right where I go, maybe even a C. I just don't know how much better this team is going to be than what it's been in the past. Stefanski has these guys playing, and he fields a competitive team, to his credit. They come out there and they compete. So I think that's really all that you can ask for, but I don't know if they changed any of their fortunes here. Nothing to me says, oh, you guys are now over the Ravens. You're now over the Bengals. You're now over the Steelers. They're kind of just also Rams. You know what I mean? Like we'll just a lot of wait and see there.
Yeah,
and it looks like he liked the second and third day draft. You really seem to like those, right?
Yeah.
But man, goodness. All right. Dallas Cowboys managed to get an A-. Goodness gracious out of this guy. I don't know if this guy's just being nice or he just really likes what they did here. They don't have a lot to do in the sense of if they have a quarterback, they have a wide receiver. They need a second wide receiver, in my opinion.
They do.
Their tight end was okay. Tight end was serviceable. Okay. Offensive tackle. All right. It's hard. It's just hard for me to argue offensive tackles and stuff like that. And
especially
centers
when
and
you want
those O-line guys, man.
Mm-hmm.
Hard to argue. Like if you get a good offensive tackle and that guy can be upright for the next 10 years, that's a good pick. It's gonna be a better pick than a lot of these picks that you make. But you're trying to make that sexier pick, that skill player pick. And that skill player pick has a miss rate. That offensive tackle, I think that O-line offensive tackle rate is a lot higher on the hit rate. A
lot higher. You're right.
And those others are. And it's an important position. So I don't have any problem with this grade. I just don't know why they got it. I'm not sure why they're not like a B. I'm not sure. I mean,
yeah, it looks like they were just smart and they just took like the next best player, then try to reach for a draft pick. As when we get to Denver, we'll definitely talk about that one. It wasn't a reach, but yeah, they re-signed Zeke Elliott, so I mean they got a running back.
Crazy, funny to me. I think
it is
Zeke
funny.
was averaging about 3 yards a carry, so he's not the same Zeke that we saw before, but at least he's back in the building there.
He's back, and at least he can get you some yards. So, but they have still, like you said, they don't have the quarterback and their wide receiver. They're fine, and good defense.
All right. This is gaining a third round pick, and they move down the board and still landing a starting tackle made for a successful Thursday night for Dallas. So it looks like they're pretty happy about that. And I don't have any arguments there. I don't know if I would have went this high, but I don't really have any reason to go lower either. I'm in wait and see motion for Dallas Cowboys in my wait and see category. Kind of like where the Bengals would be. I put the Bengals kind of like in the wait and see. I got to see. Denver Broncos B-. I guess this guy just doesn't give crappy grades, man. I thought our C+ might have been good. Our C+ might be the lowest grade this guy has given so far.
Yeah.
Bo Nix, people, now I know what people are saying the Bo Nix is a reach, and I get it. But when I look at the Broncos quarterback room, what do you want them to do? Like, what else are they supposed to do? Like, they're out of options. They're still paying Russell, right?
Yeah.
You don't really have any starting quarterbacks there.
Oh, I know, man. They got Jarrett Stidham. They got Jarrett Stidham, my friend.
Yeah. And a lot of people are like, man, the coaches, they all say the right things. We believe in Jared. We ready to give him the keys to the Cadillac type situation. And you're going to get mud hole stomped in you in that Kansas City division, bro. Like you better get you a guy. And the only team they can look at in that division is the Raiders and say, hey guys, we're in the same boat. Aiden O'Connell over there. Now we got young Bo Nix we're running out over here, and then we got somehow have to go up against Justin Herbert and and Patrick Mahomes, but we'll get through it, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Good luck.
Good
to
luck,
the
guys.
Broncos, man.
Good luck, Bronco country.
Good luck, Bronco country, because that's. I mean, Bo Nix could end up being a guy. I'm not even gonna knock Bo Nix. I just feel like you're still in that division, and it's tough.
True.
It's tough. Number 1-5 is something to deal with, man. Detroit Lions B grade. I just like what the Detroit Lions have done over the last couple of years, man. It's gonna be hard for me to say anything negative about them with the team they built over the last couple of years. I can't say that I love anything they did here, but I don't think that anything they did was wrong either. It's kind of just like you already stacked. You got defensive players, or you already got skill players. You locked them in.
Mm-hmm.
You went in for and got your running back last year's draft. So
yep.
I don't think you really need to chase any of those skill positions. So they're in. That's where you really want to be. Have your skill positions already figured out. You don't need a quarterback. You don't need. You got some wide receivers. You just paid one. You got a good tight end. You got a good couple of backs. I'm not sure Dave Montgomery's coming back, but you got a good couple of backs there.
Right.
So you don't need much. So
no,
you're good. Rich getting richer with Detroit there. Green Bay Packers, I feel very similar to the Packers. I feel like the Packers got a lot of guys already on this team. A tackle, once again, taken. You can't really argue with that. You're not going to see me say anything negative about any of these tackle picks because you got to keep that guy upright. So they already got the quarterback position figured out.
Yep.
Got their skill positions. The Packers have always been a team that seems to draft competitively. They're always kind of there. I rarely look at their team and say, man, that Tulane quarterback, Michael Pratt here at 245 is interesting, right? It's interesting.
Yeah. Well, maybe a little competition. Just kidding.
Maybe, man. Maybe for a competition for the headset with the second guy, the second and third guy. Maybe they can compete for who's going to hold the newspaper or the headset or whatever they do.
Yeah. For all those years that Rodgers complained about the way they drafted, they've always drafted well. I mean, and they were 98 last year. They're going to be one of the sexy picks this year to win the division. You watch.
Yeah, it'd be interesting because that division is getting competitive, man. If Chicago comes up, very competitive division all of a sudden.
Yep.
Houston, Texas, I love everything the Texans do.
Everything they've done.
Everything the Texans have done. Rolling. Just keep doing you. Just keep doing you, Texans. Everything that you've done the last 2 years, A- grade for them. Everything they've done has been great. Took a defensive back, 42nd overall. Didn't have a first. Looks like they didn't have a first
because they traded their first to Arizona last year to move. I think to move up to get either. Who was it? It was either the quarterback or the defensive player. I cannot remember who. But that's what they did. They trade out and trade back in.
Okay. Nothing to see here on the Houston Texans. Nothing to see here. Teams are probably just going to blow through. Let me see. Indianapolis Colts. I think the Colts are interesting. They took Adonai Mitchell, who I thought would go a little earlier than that. I don't know if he would have gone first round, but it's kind of did surprise me that he went.
It was a deep wide receiver draft this year. So I mean, it was tough.
I like the fact to get Richardson some help there. They got a great defensive end player there. So, they go as Anthony Richardson goes here. I think it's as simple as that.
Yep.
Right. They just re-upped Michael Pittman. You go as Anthony Richardson. Anthony Richardson's healthy. We got a competitive team out there. He's not healthy. It's gonna be rough sledding. Jacksonville Jaguars. I like Brian Thomas Jr. was a pick for me that a lot of people were like, man, that other guy from LSU, because he was overshadowed by Neighbors, but a lot of people were like, that other guy from LSU, man, he's something too. So it's interesting. They're trying to replace Calvin Ridley, which can be hard to do, but we'll see what happens. I like Brian Thomas Jr. So we'll see what happens there with them. A- on the grade. I don't really know a lot of these other guys that they picked. Took a tackle, defensive back, another offensive tackle there. Okay. I mean, just like some of these other teams, I'm not sure. I gotta wait and see. Take a wait and see approach to this team. See what Trevor's going to look like.
Exactly. That's your question. We're waiting for Trevor.
I need to see what Trevor's going to look like. And then, with these receivers, who else? Did they lose somebody else? Are they still? Did just Ridley? Maybe just
Ridley. If I'm not mistaken, okay. I thought it was just Ridley.
And they got Gabe Davis too, right? Didn't Gabe Davis go there to Jacksonville Jaguars?
Mm-hmm.
So that'll be interesting to see what that combination looks like. But very much a wait and see approach. A-. I have no reason to disagree with that, but
no,
I have to wait and see approach for them for how happy I'd be coming out of this draft. Kansas City, I'm happy coming out of the draft because I got a wide receiver. And you got a tackle, and it's just Kansas City, right?
Yeah.
Kansas City, the way they find to win, man, the ways they find to win, it's a team to me that always doesn't sound like they need much because of the number 15 back there. As long as they got number 15 back there and they got Andy Reid scheming them up, man, it seems hard. And then if that defense keeps taking, if that defense takes any strides this year, because it was already 1-2 last year. Like
it was already one of the best defenses last year. So I mean, what are they gonna?
It'd be incredible. They become like a super team, and Lord forbid Xavier Worthy actually becomes a guy.
He's a stretch and field kind of guy. That's exactly what Mahomes.
They got like a little Tyreek Hill type player there, guy who just run downfield and nobody can catch him.
That's all you got.
Now, that hasn't worked out for them for those other receivers they've drafted here in the past. Reminded me kind of the Ravens. The Ravens will draft a guy and just not work out, or get a guy in free agency and just not work out. Or I remember when the Ravens were in that purgatory, wide receiver purgatory sort of place, and I kind of feel like that's where Kansas City has been. They get a guy to step up every now and then, get a Juju step up every now and then.
Yeah.
But I know they were waiting on Sky Moore to take that leap, and they had a couple guys. Every time a guy gets drafted to Kansas City, they're like, "Oh, this could be his year because of the quarterback." And I get why you say that, but we need it to actually be the year, maybe for one of these guys,
right?
Because they haven't really replaced Hill, but they've won 2 Super Bowls since then. So
yeah, it's not really been.
Who cares? It just doesn't matter when you're winning Super Bowls. It just doesn't matter, right? Okay, Las Vegas Raiders. The biggest issue I have with the Raiders is their quarterback. I don't trust the guy. I don't trust him. I just don't trust him. Like,
don't be knocking on my Minshew magic, man. Come on.
Listen, it's gonna be your quarterback room is Aiden O'Connell and Minshew. We don't even know if Minshew's starting there. Minshew might be the backup there to young Aiden O'Connell, man. And either way, if your quarterback is Minshew or Aiden O'Connell, and you're sitting over there in that division with Patrick Mahomes and Justin Herbert, man, it just doesn't seem like you're winning any shootouts, man. You just got to try to keep them under. You're going to hope your defense can just keep these games close.
Yeah.
Right. I do like Brock Bowers. I think Brock Bowers is a great player. Thought that he was worthy of the number where he went. He's worthy of 13.
Correct. But who's throwing to him?
Kind of just like who's throwing to him. Correct. Like this has to be figured out. And unfortunately in the NFL, if your quarterback's not figured out, nothing else matters.
No.
All right. Los Angeles Chargers. Now, this kind of surprised me a little bit that they went so early and got, man, you know what's crazy is as I look at this pick here, Joe Alt at 5. I don't think Neighbors would have been a bad pick here.
No.
I don't think Neighbors would have been a bad pick here, only because you don't have
because he doesn't have anyone to throw
a person to throw it to.
He does. Keenan Allen, Mike Williams.
I thought they might even trade back at you and chase down a Brock Bowers type pick, man. Like I thought that was going to happen here at some point.
Yeah.
But Joe Alt, you can't argue with the pick. Like he is a tackle that's definitely worthy of a top 10. He's a top 10 tackle, and he was highly sought after in a class of a deep. Whenever you get a guy like Marvin Harrison Jr., right, highly sought after in a very deep class of wide receivers.
Yeah,
Joe Alt, highly sought after in a very deep class of tackles. So.
Yes, he's a reason why Notre Dame had a really fantastic running attack last year. And hey, but
who's running the ball? We don't even know who's doing that.
That's true. We don't even know who's
they don't
whoever
have
they sign
there no more. Whoever comes.
Yep. Has some good lanes to run through.
I just feel like they got a lot of holes, man.
Yeah. McConkey's a good one.
They got Brendan Rice. They got Brendan Rice going so far, right? I didn't know he went 225. I think maybe he's. Goodness gracious.
Yeah. So they've got
he showed some flashes.
Yeah, they cut Johnson out of Michigan. So
I heard the kid McConkey is good in the slot. I had a coworker who's a Georgia fan who really loved McConkey and was talking him up to me a few weeks ago.
Yeah.
Fantastic. So that's interesting. So then maybe they feel like they got a guy. I don't know. But it's gonna be hard replacing that Keenan Allen and Mike Williams is gonna be hard to replace there. But they're on their way. Junior Colson, I like Junior Colson. Look, he got a Michigan guy in there. He got a couple Michigan guys in there that he brought.
Wonder why.
So what was that? A- for them? I wouldn't hear you. My Neighbors better not become a guy. That's all I can say about this A- is Neighbors. If Neighbors becomes a guy, I felt like the Chargers probably should have gone in that direction. Let's see. Los Angeles Rams. Jared Verse. Some people wanted us to take him down here. Your boy Blake Corum came off the board at 83. Was that third round? A- for the Rams. I mean, this guy who's rating these teams, he seems to like all the teams, man. Like he doesn't really. I haven't seen really any bad grades.
Doesn't like our team, but okay.
Right. The C plus is the word. We thought the C plus was one of good. It's one of the worst grades he's given so far.
Right. Yeah.
Here this
love
draft,
the
Rams are kind of a team to me that are going to depend on a lot of health. See what's going to happen now that I think Jared Verse may be there to replace Aaron Donald, but who's going to replace Aaron Donald? He's Hall of Famer.
Aaron Donald.
You can't just walk in and replace Aaron Donald. So, I mean, good luck with that. Good luck with that. I like Kyron Williams, like what they got going on with their running back. I like Puka came on at the wide receiver position. Their tight end is serviceable. Still got Matt Stafford back there slinging it. So
just slinging it. Got Matt Stafford. You still got Cooper. So I mean, you got
Cooper got decent. You got assets there. It's just interesting to see how things go because it seems like they had a mayor, but they always seem to be hanging in there.
Yeah,
with teams. So looks like just another draft where they're going to be hanging in there as well. Miami Dolphins. You know, it's hard. The reason it's hard to get excited about the Miami Dolphins, B- grade for them. The reason it's hard for me to get excited about them is because they're just a good team, but they don't seem to be. They're like the Cowboys to a certain degree. They're good in the regular season, but it seemed hard to trust them postseason.
Yeah,
and they haven't really given you any reason to trust them postseason. So they've entered that category, and I wish we were there, but we suck too bad to be there. That category of I'm going to see what you do in the postseason category. Like they're kind of entering that for me. Will I be impressed with a 10-7 season where they get eliminated first round or two? No, I'm not, because that's kind of what they do. They can win double-digit games, but we need you to get to the postseason and be competitive.
Yeah, and there's still the question mark of Tua. You know, is he your future? You know,
I think he is. Until I see otherwise, especially from our fantasy winner who had Tua as his quarterback, the guy who won our fantasy league. He did pretty. Let's just say he did pretty good for him. So I think Tua, there's still an answer. There's still a question there, but when you look around the league with some of these other guys starting at quarterback, then I'm going with them. I like what the Vikings did here, taking Dallas Turner, the guy that we were supposed to take, and they also took JJ McCarthy. I mean, we'll see, right?
Yeah, we'll see. I mean, it's.
I like him more than Bo Nix, but who knows?
Right.
Bo Nix can end up being better than him. Like you never know with some of these quarterbacks. You don't know.
Yeah.
And Bo Nix could end up being a guy. Like you can come out here and start slinging it right on top, and they will be like he's a guy now. You know?
Yeah, he could be, but that's a reach since he was the only quarterback out of the class, out of the first round that didn't get a first round grade. He got a second round or second round higher. But we'll see. Maybe he'll prove us all wrong.
You never know, man. All you gotta do is get on that field. Yeah, that's what Brock Purdy said, right? Brock said, "Just put me on that field, man." And we'll see what happens then. B plus for the Minnesota Vikings. I'll stick there. I don't have any reason to say no. I feel like they handled business. They did what they had to do.
He has to throw to one person. That's all he has to do. Throw to one person.
Yeah, and their receiving room is kind of panning out. They have your boy Jordan Addison there, who I love. Jordan Addison, and they got your boy JJ, who they're gonna back the Brinks truck up to very soon.
Yep.
New England Patriots, I want to give them a better grade. I just don't know what Drake May really is. I've seen the rankings on this guy has been all over the place. Like some people love him, some people feel like he's average, like he's mid. So I don't know. Like Drake May's that classic like guy who could be Josh Allen or be a Josh Rosen. Like you don't know which guy is he gonna be. That goes very early and just disappoint. So I hope that doesn't happen for the Patriots because I like to see teams at least have a quarterback because it's almost like when you don't have a quarterback, it's almost even hard to watch you on Sunday, to be honest with you. Watch your games when you don't have a guy back there dependable that can sling it. B grade for the New England Patriots. I'll go B because Drake May is there. I haven't really seen much reason to argue with a lot of these grades so far. And it's a difficult job to do anyway because you don't know what these guys are going to really turn out to be.
No.
A minus. They took a player that I thought that we were going to take. This Spencer Rattler, man. I thought we were going to target Spencer Rattler. Took a tackle, 14 overall. Can't argue against the tackles. But the Spencer Rattler pick is one that I really thought that a lot of teams would covet, just to have a guy. I know that you're not very high on him. I just thought that where he was bound to go at, I thought there could be value. I knew that he wasn't going to go high. I know he go as low as 150.
Yeah, when you phrased it that way, it made more sense. I thought you were kind of thinking he should have gone higher. I was like, he was kind of because he transferred, and when he got transferred to South Carolina, the numbers were good. Don't get me wrong, he has a good season. It's just he's like one of those, like you said, he's got a great arm. Sometimes it's decision making. What got him booted out of that's why he got transferred, or why he left, because they were going to replace him. But yeah, I like Kool-Aid. I think Kool-Aid had a bad down year for Alabama last year, so it wasn't down, but it wasn't like the year before. Like he was definitely everyone wanted him last year versus this
high
year.
upside.
Yes,
for them, for these guys, right? Because if Spencer, Kool-Aid, and them paying out, and then they've transferred their franchise for a while. I feel like the same thing with our draft. We had a franchise altering draft one way or the other. This draft, you can't say that every draft,
Right?
The Giants did what they had to do, picking neighbors. The problem is, and you know what I'm going to say. The problem is here.
Oh,
the problem is Daniel Jones, man. Daniel Jones and Drew Lock. I talked about that earlier in the episode. Like Daniel Jones and Drew Lock, if that's your quarterback room, it's just not inspiring. No. Especially when you got Jalen Hurts, now you got Jaden Daniels, and you got Dak Prescott. Where he had the worst quarterback in the division last year. And I feel like you're gonna have the worst quarterback in the division again this year so far.
Yeah,
But hey, man, keep hope alive. You do got Malik Neighbors, and here's hoping that somebody can actually throw to him there. A B+ what they gave the Giants. All right, I'm gonna take their word for it. Offensive tackle for the Jets. The Jets are kind of another one of those teams. Jordan Travis, that's interesting, right? Jordan Travis is interesting. Quarterback there, 171. But B+ they gave the Jets. B+ what they gave, I think the Giants. They gave the Giants B+ as well. Let's go see. Yeah,
I'm good with that.
Just giving everybody getting a B+ here. Just throw out those B+. So now our C+ is looking worse as I get through here. Offensive tackle. It's just Aaron Rodgers, right? It's Aaron Rodgers. Aaron Rodgers, period. Aaron Rodgers.
That's it. They have a playoff roster. They need a quarterback.
You need Aaron Rodgers to play.
Yeah, you need to be healthy.
Philadelphia Eagles usually draft pretty good themselves. They just got Saquon. I like what they did during the offseason. They got the wide receiver room is getting paid. Got a paid wide receiver room there. You got Jeremiah Trotter Jr. there, huh?
Yeah.
Going to the Eagles. That's hilarious. Quinyon Mitchell, defensive back from Toledo. I think this is just a good team.
Yeah, they lost some defensive players last year.
Team, man. They're trying to replace those. They're working on what their needs are, and they're not a team with a ton of needs. So
definitely on the offensive side.
Right. So they're sitting in the catbird seat here. They can just sit there and just pick off defense. My team here with the Steelers. Now I was happy because I had some people who diehard Steeler fans here. Now my problem is with my other team is that we need to replace the wide receiver position. We got rid of Deontay Johnson. I think that we need having George Pickens out there by himself. It's just not it. From what I hear, some people do like the Roman Wilson, so we'll see what happens. But if you don't, they try to address the offensive line, which they've been trying to address for years, but at least they're going for it. First 2 picks, a tackle and a center.
Yes.
Going for it.
You're going
for it.
You know what I mean?
Sorely needed.
Yes.
So
you got 2 good running backs. You got 2 good backs.
The defense is always
what's
holding us over, right? Mm-hmm. It's like always what's keeping us in games. So we need to work on our offense here a little bit, and I think that we've done a little bit to address that. So I'm hoping that one of these guys can pan out at the receiver position, because we're going to need somebody to help George Pickens out there. A grade for the Pittsburgh Steelers. No issue with that, given that they address their needs there.
Yeah, your defense is like a bullpen, like a starting pitching bullpen. Like, guys, I'm gonna have to ask you to throw zeros all the time.
Right? We can't do anything on the offensive side.
I'm gonna need you guys to throw zeros the entire time.
Well, we can address that, man. We don't have the Pickett situation out there no more. That was embarrassing. I don't.
Yes. Yeah.
That was a horrible situation.
That was a horrible
So
situation. Yep.
another reason why you see us drafting a quarterback like Penix Jr., we got to take multiple shots at this thing, man, because when it's wrong, it can really derail your season. I don't really know the kid Ricky Pearson from Florida, wide receiver, San Francisco 49ers, B grade once again. Who cares? It's the 49ers. These guys feel like they can lose a guy or two and still have an all-star team. So it's kind of like,
yeah. What are they?
Congratulations on joining. I think Ayuk's gonna stay. I don't think
he's staying, and then they got another receiver, and then it's like, oh, remember when they made like one of the worst draft picks ever, and to move up to get one of that's a quarterback.
Forgotten about, my friend. We don't even remember that anymore.
Right, exactly. And now, where were they last year in the Super Bowl? Where were they a few years ago in the Super Bowl? So teams like this can, like you said, if they're just retooling, can make those mistakes because they're just smarter, and they're fine.
Let's see how many more teams we have left. Seattle Seahawks, Byron Murphy, defensive tackle. They got a guard, Christian Haynes. I'm kind of, with Seattle, do I really trust Geno to take them over the hump, especially in that's the same division as San Francisco, right?
Yeah.
I don't, because if Kyler's healthy, I like Kyler more than Geno. I like Brock Purdy more than Geno. I like Matt Stafford more than Geno.
Yeah.
That's a problem. Eventually, you might not have to. You can kick the can down the road, Seattle, because you can still somehow manage to be competitive. But no, I just don't see high hopes for the Seahawks here for next year. We'll see, kind of going closer into the season, but you got enough to maybe bring fans to the game. You can field a competitive team, but I don't have a lot of high hopes for them.
No, I think it's the glass slipper broke. He had that one great year. They gave him some money. I think maybe it's going to be the same thing with Baker.
It wasn't bad. I think his last year it wasn't bad. Wasn't he injured this last year?
He did have some injuries past years, but I'm just saying the numbers weren't like that. We were all hyped about it. It's like Geno Smith, and it's I think he won. Did he want to come back? May want to come back player of the year. And maybe
should have. If he didn't, he definitely should have.
It's one of those things like look like he's not even going to have a career, or maybe just do a career backup, and then he has that resurgence. Kind of took a step back,
and I think he's got like a 2 to 3 year contract. He doesn't have like a ton. He doesn't have a ton of money or anything.
Correct.
He played it, but he's not like he's got a 4 or 5 year with 3 years guaranteed type of money where they really have conviction.
Right. I'm waiting to see if Baker kind of has that same regression, or that maybe not since he but he does have good receivers as well. So they both have good receivers. I will have to see.
Graham Barton, a lot of people like him from the center from Duke. Okay. Help Baker out, I guess, a little bit there.
Yeah.
Offensive line not much atrocious to do with this team. This team is pretty decent. They're in our division. Our division is horrible. It was up in the air last year. I feel like it's gonna be up in the air this year because we just don't know what Kirk's gonna do. So it's gonna be up in the air again this year. But our division is competitive. I think it'll be competitive again this year.
Yeah.
Linebacker Chris Braswell from Bama, Roll Tide, Georgia, defensive back. Okay. All right. B+ for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. I don't really have anything negative to say about that. A- for the Tennessee Titans, but I feel the same way about them. Like, these are kind of like meh teams to me, because even if you manage to somehow win the division in either one of these teams, whether it's Tampa Bay, which hopefully they don't, or the Titans, I just don't see them I don't see a deep playoff run as a result of this draft. Like, when you look at it, the draft that the Bears had, right? You can say, man, this can be impactful. The same draft that Houston had last year. You look at the draft Houston had last year. You're like, this can be really impactful for your team. That's just not what I'm seeing coming down the stretch here with some of these. I'm like, it's great. Like I said, I'm never going to argue against the tackles.
No.
But at the same time, your team, I think they get Calvin Ridley now. The team is just okay to me. The team is just okay. We don't really know if their quarterback can really play. We'll really get a chance to see, but it's not something I'm super excited about. I'm not super excited about Tennessee this year.
No, Yeah,
We got to see them play some games and see if some of these guys emerge to where you can start generating more interest, I should say.
True.
All right. I think the Washington Commanders will be our last team here. And they are at an A-. Jayden Daniels. Now, this is interesting because when you have these guys that get drafted, these quarterbacks that get drafted super early, you're hoping that that's just going to be turn your team all the way around. You can get an offseason. They got Austin Eckler. Of course, they traded ownership. It'd be interesting to see what happens here. Snyder's been gone for what, a year or two? A couple years? He went last year. This would be the second year gone.
Yep.
Okay, so as you remove the stench of that previous ownership, still probably getting that stench out of the building.
Get it out.
A little
Change
bit
the
there.
name. Change the name for God's sakes too.
Not a fan of the Commanders, huh?
It's a horrible name.
But yeah, Jayden Daniels is excitement. Anytime you got a guy, right? Can't argue with that A-. Let's see. I think they watched that last time, but let's make sure. Yeah.
All right, man.
All right, let's roll out of here because we just over an hour here. Just the stats. Reggie Johnson, Eugene Morton. Check us out. Stitcher, iHeartRadio, Google Podcasts, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, wherever you find your podcast, as well as check us out on what are we on? Check us out on YouTube, as well as TikTok and Instagram and stuff like that. Man, they might be banning TikToks in there. We're at the get our stuff on there, man, just for us to get kicked off there. We've only been posting stuff there fairly recently, man, just to get booted off. All right. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you for listening.